Well, thank you very much, Mark, and I'd like to thank the Ohev Shalom Men's Club for the kind invitation to be with you this morning. To be back with you, I was with the Men's Club, I guess, several months ago. We had a great conversation, a great series of questions. I'm looking forward to the questions here this morning as well. As Mark said, my name is Mike Fitzpatrick. I'm the representative in the 8th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I am currently in my second term. My first term was in the 109th Congress in 2005 and 2006, and I'm in my second term. And of course, I need to tell anybody here this morning we're in the midst now of just completing the decennial census. They've redrawn the boundaries, the new districts are set, and the elections are scheduled for just about 3.5 weeks. And so, whether you're reading the newspaper or watching the television commercials, you can't help but see all of the issues, the national issues and the local issues with national flavor and significance. They're in full display right now, and this is an important part of our democracy. The ability to discuss those issues, discuss them respectfully, as Mark said, but be passionate about where we stand and be clear where we are, where I am and my opponent are as candidates, so that you can make good and informed choices in these important national elections that are scheduled on Tuesday, November 6th. And I said to Mark when I came in this morning, I appreciate being invited for breakfast as well. I really appreciate that. And I brought my wife. My wife Kathy is here. Somewhere in the back. So we appreciate it. Kathy gets the applause better than me. That's appropriate. I said to Mark that what I want to do is spend my 10-minute half talking a little bit about my background and what I'm seeing in the district, specifically in the district, and what I'm hearing from constituents and more of my constituents. And some of you may own businesses that I've visited over the course of the last 18 months, almost 2 years. And I want to spend the second 5 minutes talking about my visits to Israel, to the Holy Land, talk about some of how those visits have impacted my representation of you and my passion for the relationship between the United States and Israel, and for my passion for a free, safe, and secure state of Israel, and talk about some of the bills that I have co-sponsored and sponsored and voted for and defended on the floor of the House as they affect foreign policy and specifically the state of Israel. First, a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong resident of Bucks County. My wife Kathy and I have lived in Bucks County our whole lives. We went to sort of sister schools. Kathy went to Bishop Conway, I went to Bishop Egan, but now a combined school. I went on to college and law school and came back to Bucks County to practice law. Kathy is a teacher at Archbishop Wood right down the road. She teaches high school biology. We have 6 children, and our children attend the same schools that we attended. Trinity Universe Elementary School in Levittown, and now the combined Convalescent Catholic High School. I practiced law in Bucks County for about 20 years. Practicing a practice where I represented individuals and small businesses. And I love the practice of law. That's my profession. And like the practice of law where you see a client, you understand the issues, you get the facts, and then you go out and vigorously defend your client. Now as a member of the United States Congress, I don't have one client to represent, I have 710,000 constituents, all of whom deserve my attention, my devotion, my hard work, and ultimately, hopefully, my sort of studied and thoughtful votes on the floor of the House of Representatives. During those 20 years, I had the opportunity to represent, as I said, from some of the most well-to-do businesses in Bucks County and some of the poorest individuals, most at-need families. And I had the opportunity to represent businesses and individuals at risk and in need in the same day in the same courthouse. And it gave me a sense of the great diversity of our community and some of the needs of the community. I think that background gave me a foundation of what is needed to understand a diverse community and represent it in the United States Congress. During 10 of those 20 years while I was practicing law, I also served as a local elected official. I was a county commissioner in Bucks County, in the Bucks County Courthouse. And as county commissioner, I had the job of understanding what was happening in Harrisburg and in Washington as they fund those important and vital programs, but ultimately recognizing that the programs that are being funded at the national level, the funds are being sent to some county commissioner somewhere in the country to figure out how to effectively and fairly manage those programs. And so it was an interesting perspective then to take that background as a county commissioner and go to the United States Congress and say to the other members of Congress, you know, you can have these great debates on the floor of the House about these important federal programs, but let me tell you what it's like to actually manage them. And as a county commissioner, probably one of the most important jobs it was for me in terms of managing those programs is to, at the beginning of each year, pass a budget. And in each of those 10 years, and for 5 of the 10 years I served as chairman of the Board of Commissioners, we passed a budget in every one of those 10 years. We passed the budget on time, the budget balanced. And I made sure that as the year unfolded, as we managed those budgets and managed those programs, I made certain, as your representative, as your fiduciary in the county courthouse, that in the management of those budgets, that we made sure that the revenues for the county came in over budget, that the expenditures would come in under budget, so that each year the fund balance would increase, and the county bond rating, the credit rating for the county government, which is your government, got better. And I give you that because now I'm down in the United States Congress, and as I visited businesses throughout the course of the summer, I visited 100 businesses in 100 days to find out from the people that I represent what is most important to you. What is it you want from your federal government? Many commented on the inability of the United States Congress, your federal government, over the course of the past 3 years to pass any budget at all. And it is a major failure. It's an embarrassing failure for the federal government. I know how to pass a budget. I passed them. 9 of the 10 budgets I passed as your commissioner were bipartisan. They were unanimous. Because we worked across the aisle to make sure that the needs were addressed within the means of what we could afford as county taxpayers. And now I'm down, I left the board of 3 in the county courthouse. Now I'm one of 435 on the floor of the House. And it's more difficult to get 435 people all rowing in the same direction. Not impossible. But budgets are being passed in the House. Budget documents are being passed in the House, but they're not being passed in the Senate. And if you don't have as you know from your civics classes as children, a bill passes in the House, a bill passes in the Senate. If they're identical, they go to the President for signature. If they're not identical, it goes to a conference committee where you work out a compromise. And then that compromise conference bill goes to the President for signature. But the system only works if you have a House passing bills, including budget bills, and the Senate passing bills. And what I've noticed in the 2 years that I've been back to the Congress for my second term, having been gone for 4 years, is that the Senate stopped working. The Senate stopped passing bills. The Senate still debates, not as much as they used to, but they're not functioning as the full half of the legislature as was anticipated by Article 1 of the Constitution. Some of the other things I heard from the businesses that I visited, there was some very common themes or common messages I heard. And I visited all kinds of diverse businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, manufacturers, producers, service industries, healthcare businesses. Basically said to me, they said, this is a very difficult economy. We're struggling to survive, but we're doing what we have to do in order to survive and to continue to meet payroll. But they would say to me, they say, Mike, these are the issues we want you to work on down in Washington. They said, number one, taxes in this country are too high and your tax code is too complicated. We want you to work on that. Number two, healthcare costs are out of control. And it's very difficult for us to expand and hire new individuals, understanding that we may not be able to provide them the type of medical benefits, the quality of medical benefits that we want to give them, that we've been able to give in the past. And number three, regulations are very burdensome, and it's like a hidden tax on business, because many businesses are required to hire individuals just to fill out paperwork to comply with federal regulations, which are not necessarily thoughtfully promulgated. And when new regulations are created by the federal government, the federal government, they never eliminate old outdated regulations that just sort of add to them. And so those are the three things I heard from businesses. Taxes are too high, too complicated. Regulations are expensive and too burdensome. And healthcare costs are out of control.